I've been thrilled as I was walking around on breaks in between sessions to hear some of the discussions that are going on. You know, it's encouraging. I know this is the choir, but I think these discussions are going to bring people together, and we can't solve these problems in isolation. It's going to take a group and a concerted effort. So some of my takeaways that I had, so the conference, according to Jack, was WSIB. I actually thought there was some good news when you first looked, maybe being optimistic, but the percent of total claims had a little bit of a downward trend. The downside, or maybe flat, right? But if you take that in the context of we've had a rapid growth in population and a rapid growth in what I would consider vulnerable workers. We hear about them in the news all the time. That we're maintaining where we were is actually a positive, okay? So being optimistic, right? Working on my new self. There were also some concerning items, in my opinion, looking at that. One of them came up when we were up here as well, that there's a shift to younger workers getting injured. That is concerning when we know that MSDs is the longest years working with a disability of any illness, okay? So that's concerning. One of the other ones was multiple body part injuries has doubled in 10 years. So what does that mean? You know, probably reading too much into this, but is it progression of injury? From one body part, you're compensating, you end up injuring another body part. 5% of cases went on to permanent disability. That's huge. And then mental health. You know, Jodi had a nice talk. I'll come to hers at the end. But if we looked at the MSD cases, they were on average $7,000, right? Compensation cost in 43 days. When you added in mental health as secondary to an MSD or chronic pain, that became $200,000 to $250,000 a case. And 43 days versus 1,300 to 2,300 days, that's 5 to 9 years, right? And there's an unknown part there as well. We don't know what's happening the other way. So they're tracking mental health as secondary to MSD, but we don't know mental health to MSDs yet. And as I mentioned earlier, it is the fastest growing claim category at WSIB. So one of the reasons I thought Jodi was a wonderful speaker of where are we going with this mental health, what can we track, what can we measure, right? I always love listening to Dr. Rempel, so maybe biased, but the importance of understanding injuries, right? Both on the ergo side, but all of those other components in the medical system, in the classification system to understand what's happening is critical for us as health and safety practitioners. I will put a little plug in here. He also mentioned visual ergonomics and glare and those factors. And we are hosting a webinar on November 12th. You should have got an invitation. If not, you can register for it. And I have seen Hilvi Hempala speak on this topic, and she is wonderful. They have a tool for visual ergonomics that they're putting out, and she's from Sweden. So if you haven't registered for that, I would encourage you to. I'm sure when you looked at the thing, you thought, Minnesota, why did they bring in somebody from Minnesota, right? We have BC, we have Quebec. I hope you saw the parallels, right? They have a system that is like ours, but probably, Breca's gone, so I can be blind, more disadvantaged. Like there's only Breca in that state. She's doing everything. They have both consultation and enforcement. They have joint health and safety rules. They have a general duty clause, exactly where we're sitting, and now they've complemented with legislation. So everybody we talk to about this, and I'll be completely transparent, I knew nothing about what Minnesota was doing. We ended up talking to people in Washington State and other people, and they pointed us there. And so it was a lovely find. You know, she showed that legislation can reduce their claims in the state. And, you know, I think it's something to at least look at as a model of what they've done. Allison, that was, as always, a wonderful, passionate presentation on ergonomics. and showed that proactive design, right, with buy-in from a whole team that we talked about, this holistic approach at the beginning, reduced claims by 89%. We'll give you 90, we'll just round, right? But not only that, it increased productivity, decreased absenteeism, and improved quality, right? So this is this holistic approach that is so important. It's not just about preventing that injury. We all want to do that. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm playing that down. I want to protect every worker in the province, right? 0 injuries is the acceptable number. Jodi, thanks again for coming all the way from Australia. My heart goes out to you. I've done it in the same window of turnaround, and it's exhausting. Jodi's also giving a public lecture in Waterloo on Thursday night at 5 o'clock. It's open. There's a registration link up on our website. It's free. It'll be different than her talk here. So if you're in the area and you want to come, we would happily welcome you. She showed that both physical and psychophysical disorders, claims, or sources of injury were above an odds ratio of 1, right? So they were meaningful. One of the things I'm fascinated to learn as this goes forward is there seems to be a correlation there, right? When you looked at that graph where she had the low, medium, and high responders, none of them crossed over. So the people that were in those high groups physically were in those groups in the psychophysical side, or psychosocial mental health. We need to get these terms locked in. So what is, coming back to the WSIB data, what is leading, what's lagging? Are these happening at the same time? Is one driving the other? These are all things I think that are largely unknown. I'm looking for Jodi, unless you have a better answer. Maybe Thursday you will answer all of these questions. But, you know, we need to, the beautiful thing about this is we are on the leading edge, and there's already tools out there that we can look at this and try and get in front of it. Perfect. I think that's what I have. Thank you again for coming. Donia will kill me if I don't ask this. I hope many of you, especially, how many CCPEs or AEs do we have in the audience? There's a lot of you. That is awesome. You're aware of the campaign to raise awareness. Donia wants me to encourage you to step into it. I am going to step up and produce something as well. But I think raising this awareness of what we can do and championing this effort is important. And I will stop there unless you had anything to say.